Internet, can you tell I'm in high spirits? Yes, I am. A couple of things have gone really well for me today. Mostly, I've just found out that Moët do a non-alcohol champagne. And I'm pretty sure it'll be there tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, if you don't know, I have been invited. Well, no, I haven't been invited. I'm a member of the club. They have to have me. Soho House in Brighton, there is a wonderful New Year's Eve party with the gorgeous, beautiful, fantastic Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I'm taking Mumsy. We're going in full glitz regalia. As far as I'm concerned, it's a red carpet event. That's how I'm thinking. But what does a granny wear when she's, she's a bit wobbly on the old high heels? But I do have very beautiful boots that I bought from Paris that do have a little bit of a heel, but they're stylish and they're covered in diamonds, faux diamonds. So I might wear those. I will cover myself in jewellery, which I normally do anyway. And I might see if I've got a tiara. Do you think that's a step too far, guys? Who knows? It's a wonderful tiara. Well, it's more like a crown. What am I thinking? It's not even a tiara. It's a bloody crown. So, I'm really keen to wear that. Anyway, today I'm going to be trying lots of things on. I'll be taking photographs and a little bit of videoing, and I'll pop that up on my Vimeo channel if you're interested in a bit more of me, TV-wise. And I'm also really, really pleased because they're partnering with Moët, which is a big champagne company, if you didn't know. And I was nervous about them not doing a zero alcohol, but they do zero alcohol because I'm driving for a start, and also my body is a temple, and part of my high protein fitness TV regime does not include alcohol, and not part of it, the whole thing. It's the biggest part of it is no alcohol. Alcohol, I did 2 tiny flutes on Christmas Day. And fortunately, they didn't make me feel too awful. But I ruined my diet. But it wasn't the champagne, guys. It was the cheese. Just cheese, and more cheese. I could not. The cheese board was right under my nose, and as it sort of warmed in the atmosphere of the hotel, because we had a dinner in the balcony suite, as it became room temperature, and because Mum was there, we had to put the thermostat right up. We were on 26. It was a cold day though, and it was a big old room. But because of all that, the cheese started to glow. Shall we say that? It's a nice one. My dad always used to say, "Women do not sweat; they perspire or glow." So instead of saying, "God, I'm sweating buckets," you would have to say, "God, I'm glowing buckets." It's very old-fashioned, my dad. Anyway, so I found out they do this non-alcohol wine, sparkly champers, and I'm pretty sure, I'd stake my life on it, that there will be non-alcoholic tomorrow, because lots of people drive on New Year's Eve. So what else? What else am I in good spirits about? Well, my Twitter is looking nice. Thank you very much if you're following me on Twitter. I do get a bit bored with the old sharing with people who I'm not really connected with. I do think it's a bit... I looked up some things, how to do well on Twitter, sort of, podcasts and what have you. And they were all saying, don't be too personal. Don't like things that are politically sensitive. And I just thought, that's really annoying. That's really, I want to say I want the children of Gaza to stop dying, But I did take it on board, and then I thought, right, okay, so we make one of them really businessy, and we make another one, because I've got 4. We make the other one, the Marchioness of Dorchester, is going to be a bit more outspoken. A writer, but an outspoken writer. Do you see the difference? Somebody who writes about important things. I've got poetry that I've written about Gaza. And talking of poetry, shall I read you? Let me read you today's Quillmatic Bardinator. Fast forward if you don't like poetry, okay, guys? Right. Sonnet number 3, Beware the Online Suitor. Upon the vast expanse of cyberspace, where love's pursuit flaunts digital guise, Beware, for peril dwells in every data trace, in shadows cast by a virtual sunrise. 'Tis there the pixel heart doth lie, deceitful words adorned in sweetest font, an artifice where truth can swiftly die, and tender bonds by falsehood doth confront. For profiles paint a portrait often false, a masquerade that veils the face of truth, inflated tales of love and passion's waltz. Yet scepticism must be our trusted sleuth. In bites and bits emotions are entwined, yet dangers lurk, for love is blind. Copyright 2023, Quillmati Bardinator. So postmodern poetry in the style of Shakespeare, which I am using, AI. But after number 3, number 1, I think I had to change 2 words. Number 2, I had to change 2 sentences. And today's one, I had to change about 10 words. So, the more you do, the worse it gets, because it repeats itself an awful lot, AI. It doesn't seem to have an ever-evolving imagination, which I think creative people do. So, how when you're a writer, if you have your go-to words, there's a few that I love. Paradigm, for example. If I can get that word into a book, I'm rather chuffed. Or an essay or something, I love that word. It conjures up so many wonderful things to me in a sort of mathematical way, which I do not have mathematical skills, but it reminds me that there is order, although of course it doesn't mean ordered necessarily. So yeah, I have these sort of go-to words that I went through a phase where I liked serendipity, but I think all youths do. There are words that fascinate you when you're 18, aren't there? When you're 16, and when you're 61, hopefully you've got some different ones that fascinate you. Auspices, I like that word as well. I think it's quite good to have a word, learn it, a new word, and use it a few times. And because when you're older, you don't learn as well, as fast as you did when you were 16. And things get lost in the confusion of life's rich tapestry of memories. Do you know what I mean? Oh, there's just too much to think about, too much to remember. So, using a word, making a point of using it in a poem or prose actually can help get it stuck in. But we used to do that at school. Do you remember? We used to do these English texts, and the first thing was you'd have to do a précis of it. I was always really good at those. I remember these old books, gosh. Then you'd have to, rewrite a passage correctly or something. And then you'd have to answer some questions on the passage. And then you'd have to write your own essay in 1,000 words based on, what you just sort of explored, really. And that really helped language sink in. We don't do that as adults, do we? Hopefully we've got these skills anyway, because it's sort of basic English to have an idea of something. But now in this day and age, we're all skim reading, aren't we? So it's much harder to learn things when you skim read. Yes, you seed out the important bits, hopefully, if you're good at skim reading. But, you don't necessarily learn, really deep learning. And it doesn't necessarily ignite a deep yearning. So learning and yearning, good for a poem, by the way, because they rhyme. So, I think it's pretty good. And now that I've sort of come out as a writer under the under my real name, Sarnia de la Maré, and also I'm channeling the Quillmati Bardinator and the Marchioness of Dorchester, who are 2 of my poets who are really ideas, fantasies about my alter egos that I can exist within. I think all writers do that because it's just more interesting. It's really interesting to pretend I'm a man. I'm a Shakespearean man. The Quillmati Bardinator thinks he's Shakespeare. He's a man and he thinks he's Shakespeare, but he has all these postmodern issues. these postmodern problems, and I really like feeling like I'm like that. It's hard to cross gender when you're not gender what's the word? It's not dyspepsia, but I've got heartburn on my mind because I've given up my heartburn tablets. But I've forgotten what the word is. But I'm not a woman in a man's body. No, the other way around. Gosh, I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm blubbering. But I really like this idea of sort of channeling, and the Marchioness, of course, she's sort of 16th century sex addict who can't look at a pear without getting horny, and comedy, as in the Bardinator's comic as well. I hope they're reasonably comical. Or as I said in my other podcast this morning, at least they're wry, dry, wry, and vaguely interesting. Yeah. So all of these people that I create poetry for, while I'm writing that poem, I do really feel like them, and it's a bit like having love affairs with people. You when you meet somebody and you have a fascination for them, you want to know what they're like. You want to know what it's like to sleep with them, to know their family, to understand their history and their place in the universe. Does that happen for you? I mean, it's a long time since I've been in love, but I think I can pretend to be in love, because I can remember it. And certainly the Marchioness of Dorchester, she thinks she's in love when she's in the heights of lust. So as a writer, it just sort of doesn't matter anymore what you're like. I remember David Hockney said recently, when he's painting, he feels 35. And I thought, yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it. When you're an artist and you're being really creative, you can be anyone you want, but you can also be ageless, timeless. It doesn't matter what you look like. So you can be faceless. All of these things. So not only are your audience suspending reality, but you are as well, by giving them the very tool for which they can find a space that takes them away from their grounding, if you like. Obviously you want them to come out of it. You're not a hypnotist. And hypnotism on my mind as well, because I've released 3 tracks this weekend, and I'm just about to go and release another one for giving up smoking, which will be really good. And I think giving up cocaine, if you found that that's problematic for you. My cocaine days are long gone, thankfully, because I'm now free to get on with work. Because I tell you what, there's one thing you can't do if you take too much coke. Well, if you take any coke, to be honest, you can't write a poem. It's impossible. Your mind is going like the clappers, and you think by saying one sentence you're a genius. So it really doesn't bode well if you want to be properly creative. And I've been most creative in my life when I won't say most productive, because when I was running my underground arts club, which was a den of iniquity, it really was, I did get a lot done, but it wasn't particularly good, I would say. Or it wasn't deep. Shall we say that? It wasn't deep. I did a lot of stuff, I've got masses and masses of output. I'm talking about creative output, photography, art, paintings. But it was rather flippant and rather fleeting. And I think drugs and alcohol can do that to a person. The fleetingness of creativity. Yeah, I'm going to end this broadcast there. So iserverland.com and telltellerclub.com are my websites, and you can go there. You can hear all of my podcasts because they're all over it like a rash, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.